The World Car Awards 2020 just got announced, and we have a great representation from India. There's all six of us who are on the World Car jury, part of the 86 strong global automotive journalists who are on that jury. And we thought we'll all get together and quickly discuss this year's results. So, Renuka, ladies first, what's the first reaction to the five winners for you?
I think actually quite a good choice. Around sometimes I don't agree with all the winners, and I kind of feel like I wouldn't have voted this in. But I think this year has really been a good result all around in all the categories. I mean, most of them, are cars that really deserve to win. Although I think the Porsche Taycan could actually have won a few more categories, but I think it's kind of swept up a lot in any case. So yeah, I think it's a good result all around.
The Porsches being in that segment anyway was exciting for you, I know, Dhruv. And I know you wanted the 718 to win. It came in third. Have you guys seen the points tally now? It's up on the site.
No, we haven't managed to see. But Dhruv and me had a special connection with that car, I think.
I don't think any of us wanted to give it back that day.
No.
No, but I mean, it came in third. The 911 was second. This is, of course, in the performance category. But the Taycan is crazy, right? It's unimaginable. Hormaz, I remember your reaction as well when you first drove.
Yeah. No, I mean, for me, the Taycan, I think, really, no surprise, well deserved, really blew me away. I mean, it's just a technological marvel, and I think what's amazing is that it is EVs, they tend to be very sanitized.
Yeah.
I think what's really special about the Taycan is it just feels like a proper sports car. It's got a lot of emotion in it. It's got that one extra gear which kind of gives you as close to an IC engine as possible. It's got a little bit of sound. Okay, it's it's a synthesizer or whatever, but there is a lot of emotion in that car. Apart from it being just technologically phenomenal and performance, I mean that's a different level altogether.
Can I just say that I feel like I should throw my razor away? I mean, is this supposed to be the work from home look? I'm not supposed to shave.
Okay, I'm not growing a beard, whatever you guys do.
Yogen, I think you've got the head start here.
Definitely. Well, talking about the awards, the biggest surprise, of course, is Kia. Not surprising for us, but I think for a lot in the Western world, people who thought Korean brands were way behind the Germans, and they would have expected, okay, maybe the Japanese to have started winning after the German stranglehold, but we know how good both the Korean brands, Kia and Hyundai, are, and it is time that one of them won. For the urban car, both you and I were sure that the Soul was going to win it. I mean, we were driving the car together and we said, okay, this is sealed, done, dusted, no more talking about it.
Yeah.
But the Telluride, it was one of many cars that could have won. And I think what finally tilted the balance in its favor was how it looked. And it's surprising for many, but I'm perfectly fine with the Kia winning two of those awards. And Porsche, no surprises. I mean, everybody was being swept away by the car. I mean, although I thought maybe the 718 could have been the sports car, the performance car. And you remember you were shooting and I was going up and down, up and down. I think we were, and then Dhruv came driving some other car and said, can I have a go as well? I said,
Yes.
Okay, there you go. And I mean, that car was phenomenal, but I think it was the emotion that about an electric car, getting there and being there, that
At that level of
took it to us.
Yeah, I mean, since you guys haven't seen the scores, I'll quickly tell you the tally on both these categories since we are on them. The performance car, the Taycan won at 867 points total. The 911 was second with 809, and the 718 was third with 776. So it wasn't like it was close. I mean, I think it was an absolute winner. On the urban car side, the Kia Soul, 751. The Volkswagen T-Cross, 702. And then the Mini Cooper SE Electric, 574. Massive difference. So I think the T-Cross and the Soul, it was going to be one of those two, even I thought.
But I think when we first drove the Soul, actually in Seoul, Sid, we were together.
Yeah.
And we were both quite blown away with the car, because when we first were getting into it, we were like, why are we driving this? Never coming to India. And then actually when we started driving the car, we were quite blown away with everything that car had, and we enjoyed it so much. So I think ever since then, I really felt like it's a car that really is worthy of a win. Yeah.
Honey, you're being very quiet.
Yeah, I was waiting for my turn actually.
There's no turn.
Yeah, because I don't wanted to interrupt. Yes, you said there will be sound.
You never wait for your turn when driving cars. You rush.
That I won't. That I won't.
No, and in this bunch,
please
by the
follow
way,
the same protocol there as well.
No, and then we're okay. Then if you sign up for that, we're okay.
Then it's all gloves off. Huh?
Yeah. No, but any of you rode the first generation Soul EV?
I've
driven it also.
Because that was a huge change. Yeah.
So the first generation Soul EV was also quite good. It was quirky. The interiors and all were very different. It was. Actually we did a record run in the first generation Soul EV. We said, okay, how many hours does it take to drive 1,000 kilometers in an electric car, and including the charging time. And so we were at it for, I think it was 26 hours driving the car in turns. And so it was really good, but the second generation, the looks are better, the electric performance is better, the interiors are better. Overall, it's a much improved car.
Yeah. And so many things like the regen on the paddles. I mean, for a small city car, it really has, all the tech built into it. I mean, it was quite a revelation for me when we drove the second gen, and I really was wowed when I got out of that car.
Drew's expression is like, yeah, whatever, let's talk about the sports cars.
He doesn't want to talk about
it. Talk to me about the 718.
The thing with the Soul EV post the Taycan era is that the Taycan is just a paradigm shift when it comes to electric cars. So everything else that is in the EV space just feels relatively ordinary compared to what the Taycan has done.
Marie Antoinette. I mean, they're not supposed to be in the same.
No, they're not at all. It's just that, but like Hormaz was saying, that the Taycan has brought in emotion in an EV for the first time, and that's what makes it a total paradigm shift. Like the 718 was just incredible, but it's amazing that you can go from a 718 at one end of the spectrum to a Taycan at the other end of the spectrum, and they both feel like a Porsche. I think that's what was totally amazing about the Taycan.
But Dhruv, I thought you would have given all the awards to a certain Toyota.
Maybe you can't remember.
Right. No, I have a soft spot for that car. I must admit, I thought it was fantastic. And Renuka and I both had a pretty good time on that car.
I actually thought it was short in the top three.
I thought the thing about the Supra is I thought they did a much better job than the BMW with the Z4, which was the amazing.
No, I really thought it would show up in the top three.
I want to just butt in and say that, we've talked about all of this. The one car we haven't talked about is the world design car of the Mazda 3. And frankly, I mean, that's not a car I would choose. I know looks are very subjective, but I think, while I'm absolutely like with the others, like Yogi said, I think that the Telluride really, it made a great case for itself for world car. Absolutely. I think the value it offers, just the looks, that in-your-face looks, just packed to the grill, that V6 is super smooth. Every other car makes a case for itself. I guess looks are subjective. Mazda 3, well, wouldn't have been my pick, but,
Can I ask?
You guys think.
Can I ask
Same
you guys
with,
which would have been your pick
Yeah,
from
what
the
was your
finalists,
pick?
Solmas?
For me, it would have been the Taycan.
Yeah.
No, I would have gone for the Taycan even in the design.
Which is where I'm guessing you guys voted then, because that's okay, because the reason I asked this question is that if you see the points breakup again, 179 for the Mazda 3, 177 for the Taycan, so it lost by 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's it.
The next one, the Peugeot, was 144. So
Have they given because this was one that was the final one was picked by designers, right?
the 5 were, but then the from 5 to 3 to 1 became through our second round of voting.
No, but my point is, on our second round of voting, have a lot of people written in why they picked one over the other? I mean, because we put in our reasons for picking, and you have to write those little messages that later on come via mail. Has that been done this year? Because it would be interesting to see why they thought the Mazda 3 was, over the Taycan.
So did anyone vote for it, or I don't know how. What about you guys?
What did you?
Almost we can barely hear you.
I said, did you all vote? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I'm saying, did any of you all vote for the Mazda 3 as your top choice?
My top choice was the Taycan.
I didn't. It was the Taycan, the Peugeot, and then the Mazda for me.
I was so blown away by the Taycan. Everywhere I saw Taycan, I voted for it.
I think.
Yeah, for me it was my first choice, and the second choice was the 3.
Yeah, right. I think same for me.
Same here.
And a lot of that is to do with the fact that I hadn't seen the Peugeot in the flesh.
And the Mazda 3 actually looks quite good, quite pretty in the flesh.
Yeah,
so maybe the pictures don't do it justice. Because out on the road, it looks really organic and it looks really cool actually.
It's quite pretty, but and I think had we had the versions with better engines at the LA test drive, it might just have gone ahead and won World Car. I mean, I think the engines kind of let it down.
I think so too, because dynamically that car was really fun to drive as well. It's surprisingly fun to drive.
I mean, by the way, the general consensus amongst a lot of the other jurors was that, when everybody's like, oh, so of these 2 Mazdas in the top 3, which one's going to win? Everybody was saying it's going to be the CX-30, it's going to be the CX-30. And I had the same problem with the CX-30. Had we had that with a nicer engine, and there is one with a nicer engine, I'm told, the turbo, maybe things could have been different. Again, the breakup of points there is fairly close. The Telluride, 758, the Mazda 3, 745, and the CX-30, 738. So,
wow, so that's a really close one all around.
Because for me, I think what clinched it and a big part in our test drives in LA is the roads where we get to drive the cars, which is on the Ageley Stretch Highway. And it's a winding, sort of twisting mountain road. And the amazing thing on that road was that Telluride, actually being as big as it is, a full-size SUV, it drove really, really well. I mean, it was so well put together. And even on the twisties, it drove so well. Comparatively with the Mazdas, I think because of the fact that the engines that it has, the road kind of highlights the fact that it didn't have enough power, at least in that spec. The spec that we drove both the cars, the 3 and the CX-30.
That's true. I think that test drive, Hormuz, Hani, you guys have to get there this year. If it happens this year.
Anyone can make it there this year.
Yeah, if it happens.
If there is a test drive this year, let's begin with making it there is the second thing.
Let's be positive, and by that I meant positive in the right positive.
Yeah.
We might have only 6 or 7 cars to drive this year.
Anyway, in contention, you mean, or at the test drive?
Well, in contention. I mean, by the time we get there, the launches should also happen, right?
Yeah. Yogen, you were saying?
No, I was saying that I think a lot of people are saying that people who have developed immunity will be allowed to travel and the others should stay at home,
How are they going to know
so
that?
it's, I think testing for everybody. If you have the antibodies, you're good. If you don't, then okay, stay at home, stay safe, I guess.
But having the antibodies, now they're saying you can still get sick if it's a really bad case. So, I mean, it's all, basically, at the moment it's all just one, and then they refute that claim, and then they go back to it, and then they refute that claim. So, I think this is all going to get clarity a little later.
Yeah, but anyway, I think let's hope cars have now an AVS in them, which is antivirus system.
So the HEPA filter actually filters the viruses. So the new Hyundais and Kias are fine.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, Hani's favorite category now, luxury car.
But again, in luxury car, I do expected the Taycan, and I have told you also. And even I voted for that, considering it has been built from scratch as a proper Porsche and an electric platform. Whereas EQC has not compromised what I got to know from the reviews and other readings. So I do expect the Taycan to be in the top, but I just wanted to know what are the point difference.
Before I tell you that, I was surprised by this top 3. To be honest,
I do expected some other bigger SUVs in that segment, like X7. Yeah, X7. GLB
was there.
Yeah. So I do expected some others, but again, Taycan was there in my shortlist. I do expected Taycan to win.
But do you guys all think that is a luxury car?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, there's a lot of debate about whether it should be.
I agree there. I mean, for me, luxury car is something else. It is luxury. It does feel, well, high end, premium, whatever. But for me, luxury means a great back seat, somewhere to lounge in. I mean, luxury exemplifies that for me. So I think, yeah, it could have been other things.
So yeah, for me also. Sorry, luxury again is something we normally see as a very spacious, very roomy, big, flashy car. But nowadays, the modern luxury is again changing. It's more of a tech and compactness, styling, and most of the luxury cars are driver-oriented. That means Taycan has that space. Again, I have some other favorites also in that segment, but I do expect it on the final three, the Taycan would be the winner.
Which one of you announced luxury in Delhi?
This is what's so interesting on a global jury, right? Yeah. Like for us, an urban car is so different from somewhere else in the world. A luxury car is quite different from elsewhere. So it's pretty interesting that how it all boils down to the top three, because it's so different for different parts of the world.
No, so which one of you did luxury in Delhi? The announcement.
Luxury in Delhi, it was X7 was there, I guess.
Yogen, you did it, right?
Yeah, I know. I didn't do for the luxury. I did urban cars.
No, Yogen did it.
Yeah,
I don't remember now. Yeah,
yeah, I think he did it because he said it's an all German affair.
Yeah. So what were the other two? There was X7 and.
There was CLA, GLB, EQC. Then X7 was the Porsche 911, Porsche Taycan.
No. What made it in the five?
Five. I don't remember.
I think X7 was definitely there. Yeah. It was.
And GLS, I guess. I don't know. I can't remember the.
No. GLS wasn't there for sure.
It was CLA, GLB, and EQC in March.
Okay, let me see if I can find out.
Not in 5. I'm still calling it a 10.
I'll just look and tell you. Okay, I have that. X5 and X7. I guess
X5.
They cancelled each other out, I guess.
Yes. X7 also deserved to win.
Absolutely, yeah.
Luxury. If you talk about luxury, that is luxury.
I actually voted for that. Yeah. That and the Taycan were my top two. The points breakup is Porsche Taycan 846, 911 786, EQC 778. So
BMWs are nowhere, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the next two. That'll come later. The points for them.
I'm surprised the X7 didn't do better. I thought in terms of what they've done with it being an all-new product, and just small stuff. Like I remember the engineer telling us when we did the first drive for the X7, how they had engineered the steering rack and how they had cradled the steering rack in this really complicated mechanism. But the effect that you felt when you were actually driving it was fantastic. I mean, it translated to exactly what they were saying they wanted to achieve in terms of how it actually drove. And being as big and huge as it was, it drove just phenomenally well. And I mean, my question to them was that if you've been able to achieve this in the X7, how come you can't do that in all your other cars? And they said, listen, it's a question of cost. Here we had a free hand and the budgets to be able to do it because it was an all-new car and we wanted to really make a statement with BMW's first foray into that segment. And we had the ability to do it and our hands weren't tied. So I think everything that they've done with that car was fantastic. I'm surprised they didn't do better.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I think Hormuz is writing a story or something. He's like...
No. I was just... I think honestly for me, the EQC did... Sid, when we drove it in Norway, what blew me away was its refinement. I think it was so quiet, and it's not just the EV part of it, just the wind noise, everything, and it just had a certain plushness. And I don't know, for me, electrification really goes well with luxury. So I don't know, that's my view on it. Of course, I think I agree with Dhruv. The X7 is really phenomenally engineered, so much thrown into it, got space, the works. But I'm just saying, looking at the way trends are going, I just think luxury, refinement, silence, smoothness, linearity, it just goes well with a nice EV pack behind it.
So I can tell you that there was a lot of discussion and debate because of inputs that came from the jury all over the world. When that initial shortlist was put up on the website, I think in like November or October last year, cars like the Supra were in luxury, 911 was in luxury, and people were like, should it even be there? I mean, it should be just in performance. But the criteria are defined in such a way that they of course made it they were eligible in the right way. So there's going to be probably some discussion on this, I think, going forward, because otherwise, it's people like Dhruv, they see Taycan, they just vote for the Taycan. So they're like, luxury, who cares? Whatever the category is, just vote for the Taycan.
Yeah, I think you need to have a better filter for luxury and have certain criteria. I mean, for one, I don't know, it should be a four-door car. Well, the Taycan is. But generally, 911 would be out that way. I think simple things like it should be four-door, it should be, just a little bit, few more filters to make sure that, it just fits the bill better.
Yeah,
I agree with you need better filters with your jurors. If you have jurors like Dhruv on the jury, then you're in trouble.
That's not something you want to say on a public forum, right? It's like, I would like you to fire me from this jury.
But I agree. I mean, with Holmes, when he says EVs are better in that category, I mean, it's fine for an EV to win that purely because of refinement, which is also a part of luxury, right? So, and with the EVs, that just automatically comes.
It was the A7, right? Last year, I think it was the A7. And the year before that was, I think, the A8. So, yeah, it's cars like that or some kind of X factor, because the good thing with the refinement is that it's also, the sort of pinnacle of their engineering and their latest work. So I agree. I mean, I think...
frankly, just the fact that a car like the 911 can be included in the luxury category, for me, that takes away a little bit of the 911 itself. Just the fact that it's gone from being a very focused sort of sports car to being something now that is so much bigger and more luxurious. And when I drove it on the road, on the track, it is just fantastic. What they've achieved with that car dynamically is incredible. I mean, I drove it in Delhi at the BIC behind the instructor who was in a GT3. And you could tell that the turn-in on this car was so much better than the previous generation GT3 because it's got a wider track and dynamically it's so advanced. But on the road, it's just got too much performance to be able to extract any of it. And it's bigger and it's more luxurious and it's amazingly built. But it should not be a contender in luxury. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, I'm a 911 purist or a Porsche purist. It just shouldn't be a contender. It should be a pure sports car.
I was on that same side of the debate. And clearly our side lost because it stayed in that category. But
also, all cars should be eligible for the World Car. Yeah, I mean, whatever category they are in. Finally, if somebody, why can't they be the World Car?
This should have a shot at being the World Car. I mean, like I said, there are different categories, so many different global connotations for each car. So what may be really great for our market, because we do have a category also like relevance to market and things like that, and they're completely different all over the world.
No, so I think the overriding concern, and this is, by the way, the oldest debate in World Car since it began. Even I have sort of heard it as a legacy thing. It's like how we at our awards here have a certain price cutoff for the main car of the year because we want it to be a more democratic, more accessible product. The same argument kicks in there. I agree with you that because it's the World Car, and by the way, in the past, when it first started, it wasn't like that. You had like I think even the 911 in the first or second year was in the top three. You had the Mustang in the top three, and there's been a sort of refinement of that over the years. But this is something that all of us should voice again, because I think if you'd opened it up, I think the Taycan would have been the World Car of the year.
Yeah, if there is a product that breaks the mold that everybody thinks deserves to be the World Car, why not? Yeah, whichever category it's coming from.
That's fine. At the end of the day, you are looking for that standout product, right?
Yeah. Like last year, the I-Pace.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is, I think a World Car has to be a game changer in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't have to be too democratic. Otherwise, it's just evolution of the car as we know it. It's something that's really taken things a quantum leap forward, broken the mold, that sort of thing. I think that's what, I think that's why, again, the case of the Taycan was very, very strong.
Yeah. When you said taken, I was like, that's a nice pun.
Sorry?
when you said it's something that's taken the world, I was like, yeah, taken is right.
Taken the world by storm.
But the cool thing about the Telluride is that it's relatively conventional in the way it works. Right, it's a big old-fashioned SUV, V6 engine, lots of space. It looks butch, and the fact that they've taken this very old sort of proven formula and they've been able to modernize it with whatever little touches that they've done to it. I think that's what was really cool about the Telluride, and of course, because we're talking value. It's a hell of a lot of car for the money. And I think that's what's really taken the US market by surprise. And that's why a lot of us felt that it could actually work even in a market like ours. Because if you can bring it in at a value proposition, which means that you would have to manufacture it here, a car like that, which is sort of old school and big and looks good and butch and has muscle, it still works. People still want it. I mean, they're still buying it in huge numbers.
And still modern. I mean, it's still loaded with tech and loaded. So what is that good value proposition?
And like Dhruv said, how it drives. I mean, it's not just about that backseat SUV comfort. It's also about the way that you can drive. On that winding section of road, it was just so surprisingly good that you kind of felt like, okay, am I really driving this big SUV?
In fact, it's funny because that's what I wanted to ask you guys. What you thought? The fact that if you look at the last few years' winners. Each one has been about, being what is really trending in the market or like this latest idea. And here we have a car that, like Dhruv was saying, it's, fully old school, back to, being everything that you thought cars weren't supposed to be today. And yet it's taken, everybody by surprise. It's impressed people. It's become a bestseller. So it's kind of reassuring.
Also, the American industry is taking it as a victory for one of their own. I've read lots of places, people saying, "Oh, finally an American car! We've shown the world that we can do cars." This, that, so old school American, yes, but I mean, the Americans think yes, it belongs to their part of the world, and it's a car that is totally American, and that's winning the world car. So that's one thing, and. The other thing that I wanted to bring out was, I mean, the Palisade is really close, but I think where the Kia won it was the looks and also the way it drove. So the Palisade was more traditional, slightly better ride, but the Kia drove better,
No, I think, on the point of the Telluride, I think clearly there are two divergences here, and this is what the industry is grappling with, and it's what's killing the industry, is that you have to invest in the future, which is EV. That's why we are so blown away with the Taken, and the Taken makes a strong case for it. And the Telluride actually is a victory for what cars are still likely to be for a long, long time to come. And, let's face it, you can say American or whatever, but when we also went to, the US, everyone's showing their EVs, but what people are buying good old-fashioned or conventional cars with big engines which have a long range, give you all the comfort, and that's how it still is. So I think really this is the divergence that there is. You've got two paths which and you have to be on both paths, unfortunately, and that's really the challenge for the industry. You've got to stick to the good old traditional high margin, high profit products because that's what's going to pay for your future. You can't ignore that. But then you can't ignore the future as well.
But that's exactly what I was saying, because in a country like ours, I mean, that EV is just so far away that the relevance to market part of it, just gets taken away from a car like that. I mean, especially like the Taken, because how many people would be able to afford it, achieve it, or buy an EV, in today's scenario in our country. So for me, I think, a product like the Telluride, you can see someone, like Dhruv said, I mean, it would be a car that would definitely fit into our market.
No, and props to Kia, by the way, because you've actually got two cars at two ends of those spectrum, which both won.
Yeah.
So good for them. But okay.
Kia did fantastic.
I think that, the one thing about Kia is also the quality that they offer in their cars, that it really just does stand out.
Quality with a K. I don't remember how they do that, right? All of them do that. No, so okay, should it come to India?
K-pop you look like now.
Should it come to India, and how much would you price it at if you had to decide?
Should it come to India? I think a lot of people are answering that yes, they want to see it here. But
I think
there
be a
will
market for it,
definitely need to be a different engine for that.
Well, the Palisade has a diesel, and so you could plonk that in there. But how much? I mean, how much is a good price for it to actually have a case and not be some ridiculous niche product?
Sub 40 lakhs.
Yeah, around 40. Yeah.
No. I think look, sub 40 lakhs, you will get something like a Fortuner now. That's what it is. I think even sub 50 for something like this. I think there's a case for it because it's just a different level.
And
you can't expect this to be pegged at
you could go one above the
price,
Fortuner and the Endeavour. That price bracket. You go one above that, and
so Endeavour is now 32, 33. So that's how it is, and on road it will be more. So I think,
40,
I think
40 a good price?
Yeah, so
40, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the 39 ex-showroom makes it like 45, 46 on road.
Yeah.
No, because don't forget that Renuka's right. It's not the same segment anyway. You got the Sorento in that Fortuner segment. So there's a lot of clamor about how the new generation Sorento, which just got unveiled in March, that should come. I'm in the Telluride camp. I don't know about you guys. I feel like it should be the Telluride.
I think they should do Telluride as a CBU, homologation free, do a few units, test the market and see how it is. It doesn't cost them anything much. Sell a couple of hundred units. I'm sure there'll be takers for it, even at a crazy high price, because, in the end, I think there's always a market for niche cars and niche volumes.
But there probably isn't a right-hand drive version of it, other than if they were to make it specifically for India.
Yeah, there's no right-hand drive version. Then that's gone. Then even in CKD you can't do it. So that sort of settles it.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking to Michael Cole, the North America president. And I don't mean that day on the broadcast when he was receiving the award, but even at the LA Auto Show, we were talking with him. And what he was saying is that initially the plan was so fixed on North America, but the reaction from the world over has taken everybody by surprise to even within the Kia headquarters. So they're actually now figuring out how to address this whole right-hand drive thing, because it was certainly not slated for 2020. But 2021, he was like, I don't want to tell you that it's happening, but at least now that discussion has reopened. So you never know. And now with the World Car tag, I think there'll be this massive amount of interest in this car everywhere. So
countries like UK and even Australia will be a good market for them. Because they need
many of us have been telling Hyundai, right? Like, ditch the Santa Fe, don't get us the new Santa Fe, just get the Palisade. Maybe Kia can do that. And Hormuz's idea is great about using that homologation route.
Yeah.
But going back to Hormuz's point of the challenge that the industry faces, that's the big challenge right now, right? That you have a certain budget which you have to split between cars that are going to sell in the future and cars that will allow you to get to the future. Which is the traditional old school high margin SUVs, which are what are selling, and the risk of not investing enough in this old school portfolio, so to speak, is that you lose that leadership today for something that is a little sort of ambiguous in the future. So that's the big challenge for the moment.
I think the challenge has just gotten even bigger now, because I mean, with the kind of scenario that we're facing now, people will have to take some really hard decisions, and I don't think this will be one of the decisions that will be easy to take. So I think they'll just have to stick to the kind of cut and dry, that the regular path, because all companies are going to have to do a big rethink after this.
Yeah.
No, also I think the car industry will benefit, because in lots of developed countries where people can afford to buy cars, they were preferring to use public transport. And now with such a stigma attached to public transport and being in close vicinity of others, I think the car industry might well see an upswing in many of these countries, which are high volume markets.
Yeah, it's kind of bouncing back in China already.
It is, yeah.
No, and the projection is there. I mean, most of the analysts are saying the same thing that Yogen just said.
Yeah.
Individual mobility will again go up.
Right. But I mean, of course, places like India, we are.
But Yogen,
in a different place.
For that, to argue that there are a lot of businesses, people, I think it will be a certain section and segment, at least in our country, of cars that will probably bounce back. because people are not going to spend frivolously for a very, very long time. So I think that has to be one thing that will be considered, because everybody's business has suffered in a time like this. A lot of businesses don't even know how they're going to restart. So we'll still, I think in our country, we'll still see a span of people waiting and watching and seeing how they get back on their feet before they run out and buy things. So I think it'll still be a while.
Not our country. I mean, our country is out of that paradigm, I think. But developed markets, definitely.
But hold on. In our country, forget about the immediate, first couple of quarters. But eventually, maybe by sometime next year, does that mean that it's almost like a resurgence for that Alto segment, which had kind of become the number 3? It was no longer the biggest segment. Or does it mean that used car goes up? What's going to be that push?
No, I think the pandemic is not going to define the car buying choices of people. I think people in India, cars are still a coveted status symbol, and everybody who could buy a car will want to buy a car, did buy a car. The only difference is that maybe they might not be able to buy the sedan that they wanted to buy and might be buying hatchbacks.
Yeah, so therefore,
I have a different opinion on that, because I feel like, that younger generation that was not into buying, they were more into,
sharing,
either leasing or Ola or Uber or something like that, might actually now go out and buy that car, because for them it is still within reach and, easily so, but it's, earlier on they just didn't find the need to do it. But I think now they might, change that decision and go out and buy a car as opposed to, just
the finance minister obviously agrees with you, and I don't agree with you at all. I don't think there's a huge segment of people who are using Ola, Uber in place of buying a car. It's a very, very tiny, very, very small segment. And it doesn't really make a difference.
No. I mean, there may not be a big segment, but there definitely is some impact because it's not only anecdotal data; it's now even statistical data. That, for example, in Bombay or Mumbai, before all this crisis, there's been a decline in car ownership of 23% in a city like Mumbai. So it's definitely there.
It's it's not just the public transport, Yogen. It's also like in a city like Mumbai, where do you park? You have to get someone to clean you up. So it's a lot of factors that add up to the younger generation.
Yeah.
No. So we went from the Alto being the best-selling car in the country to the Swift to the Desire. Are we going to go back to the Espresso now being the best-selling car in the country?
I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
Because aesthetically, that'll be great. Just for our roads.
Which reminds me, I'm dying for a coffee now.
Yeah. Let's hope they're all orange.
Let's hope. Well, you're touching on a whole different topic there now.
Yeah,
that's a whole different topic.
Good idea, fantastic, brilliant.
All right, I guess we should. That's a good note to wrap it up.
On that note,
yeah. Yes. But any last thoughts on World Car, since that's where we started? Let's just go around this.
I think. It's been a fantastic platform, I think, where you've got so many, let's say, journalists from all over the world. And Sid, you really strung us well together. So big thank you for that from all of us. Right. And I think, it's really been interesting because we get to drive more cars. It kind of, because we want to vote for them, we really get to drive a lot more than we normally do. And I think, looking at this time's results, I think each car had a good case for itself. Luxury, maybe not. I think, again, that needs to be evaluated. But I think overall, I think, these cars, all of them were really worthy of what they want.
Yeah, and I think, again, thank you for as Harma said, stringing us together into this platform. But
don't string us along, just string us together.
I think the Mini, one of the reasons why the Mini didn't get that many points is because not as many people drove it.
Yeah.
So if a manufacturer wants their car to actually be in contention, they need to make an effort to ensure that all the jurors get to drive it. And that's, I think, a key message for the manufacturers as well.
But also, Sid, how do you decide? I mean, the drive for us for the Mini electric was supposed to be now in March, after all the voting was over. And it was still a global drive. If the global drive is happening after the voting deadline, then How can people vote for it?
No, so apparently a lot of the US and Western European journalists had driven the cars in December. So when the list comes in as nominations from the brand, and we are vetting that list to make sure that it is eligible, this was a question posed back to them, and they were like, "Oh no, so many people have already driven it." And we were like, "Are you sure? Because we can push it to next year." And they were like, "No, because it is coming to market before May." Now, actually, I don't know if it will come to market before me, but it was supposed to, and that's why.
To add to what Dhruv said was that, it's really nice that we get to do that LA test drive, because even though manufacturers may invite us on their behalf for some of the cars, very often most of those cars are not, like the Mazdas wouldn't even be in our market, and we wouldn't even have driven them if it wasn't for the LA test drive. So I think, even those manufacturers really need to, if they need their cars or want their cars to win in a global context, need to do, I think, what Kia did this year also for the LA test drives. They actually had a bunch of people flown in. And I think, that's what made a big difference for them as well, that, in certain markets, they got people to come in and drive cars that wouldn't have been driven otherwise. And that's what really makes a difference to this. And I think, like Dhruv said, the jurors have just got to drive the cars. If we're voting on them, we've got to have driven them,
so in that
which
case,
is part of the rules, right? So a lot of the cars I couldn't vote on. For example, like, you say the BMW, like I couldn't vote on the X7 because I haven't driven it, so till a certain point of time.
So the Peugeots and Citroens.
In the first few rounds, you just eliminate a lot of cars in the first few rounds itself because you haven't driven them.
Same with me. I also couldn't make it for the LA test drive. Apart from that, I also tried to get the X7 before the voting. Even in India, I got a marketing car, but they couldn't source the car on a particular day. So again, since I'm not able to drive, I couldn't vote for many cars, which I really wanted to vote. So in that case, for example, X7 is something I really was looking forward for in the luxury segment. So that missing out actually causes their voting as well.
No, and you know what? It comes down to what all of you are saying. I mean, the fact is that, yes, there's an effort from our side to be able to drive these cars, but the access is so important. And you can see certain brands, they just maybe take it that much more seriously. Yes, Kia flew in a lot of people. The Brits were all flown in by Kia to LA. You had cars like the T-Cross, which, some of us had maybe driven on the global drive, but they brought a T-Cross in from Germany so that all the other, North and South American and Australian jurors could drive it. You had the Jimny the previous year, which was flown in just for this. So I think you'll see more of that happening because people are taking it a little bit more seriously. They're valuing that LA test drive. I mean, the LA test drive, Renuka, the first time that you were in LA and you were going to attend it, it was going to be some 12 people at best. And now there was like some 46 people or 48 people, I think, last year who attended. So it's got a lot of value. I think manufacturers see that. They're also understanding that, getting us to these cars in time for that voting deadline has a certain importance as well. So you'll probably, this year we have no idea what's going to happen. But in general, I think that trend will kick in more and more. They're taking it more seriously. And, they're also appreciating the fact that our jury is made up of those people who, let's say are key from that particular market in the sense that they are the people who should be testing cars. They are the people who should be on that list, as it were. And the manufacturers are seeing that now more and more. And instead of just looking at regional events, because Kia, Hyundai traditionally would always be like, we don't do global test drives, we'll just do regional ones wherever we launch the product. They're now understanding that, maybe there's got to be a different outlook to it. And look, the result shows up.
So another job for you, Sid, this year, an India test drive for the Indian jurors. For all the cars they haven't driven yet.
They have to just bring them here, right? Because we can't go anywhere.
No, all the cars in one place at one time, we may not all have driven them individually, so that also might work.
That's true, because like Hani said, something like the X7 was in India, and maybe we should.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe we should go over that and, amongst us decide what are the cars that we still haven't got, and then throw that to the manufacturers. That's actually a good idea.
Yeah, do an India test drive. Yeah, like the LA test drive.
I was sourced the Evoque by Rohin before the voting started. They had the homologation car here, since I couldn't go for that. They given the car here, so that works for us. We don't have to even fly abroad to drive it. If they have some sort of cars here, you can experience it before the voting.
So what we can do is look at the list and see how many of those cars are in India. And if there's a sizable number, this could even become like a regional event. It doesn't have to be just a India event. Like people from the Middle East, from Southeast Asia.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, because I know they do that in China, by the way. There's a lot of jurors in China, since it's a large group, they're larger than us. They get together and do like not a formal test drive, but it's pretty much that. So, all right, that's a good suggestion for 2021.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Great to see you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sid.
Good to see everybody.
Yeah, hopefully we can see each other less socially distant at some point in the near future.